Our way over to Bourton-on-the-Water in Gloucestershire, about an hour from Lambourn, and join up with Ben Pauling, who begins this season, his 5th season with a licence, as a Cheltenham Festival winning trainer. With the Cheltenham Festival winner Willoughby Court in the yard, is the atmosphere going into this jump season any different than years gone by?
I don't think so massively, only the fact that the yard are very much on a high. They will be still on a high from March, but it's very exciting for everyone, and it's brought some new owners into the yard, and some new staff have come on board, and I'm sure it's an attraction for everyone really, and it's something that we've enjoyed massively, and it's great going forward.
How's he been in the months since?
Fab. He I could have very easily gone to the well again. He came out of the race fabulously, but we were very much of the opinion that he'd done what he had to do at Cheltenham, and that was as good a race as you were going to come across. And if he'd gone to Aintree or Punchestown and got beaten, it would have been a disaster, and if he'd won, it would have been a relief. And I don't think winning should be a relief. I think it should be, everyone should be ecstatic. So we put him away early last season. I'm thrilled we did that. And he summered better than he ever has done before at Stoll Park at Lord and Lady Vestey's. And he's come back in, honestly, I mean, you've visually seen it this morning, but he's a much bigger, stronger horse than he ever has been before.
How's the summer been for you, knowing that, I mean, is it sort of longer, has it drawn out a bit, knowing that you've got this superstar ready to come back in?
I think the summer always goes pretty quickly for a jumps trainer. It's always nice to have a little bit of downtime for the staff and the yard and everyone else. But we've come, I'm quite old-fashioned in the way I train, and certainly the way I bring a horse back into training. And some people would be quite annoyed because I take at least they're a week on the walker and then 2 weeks ridden and walk and 2 weeks trotting before they even start cantering. So we get them back in, early July. So it's not all that long we have off, but we haven't had many summer runners intentionally this year, and so it's been a quiet spell for us, but it's been good.
How vivid are the recollections of that day in March now?
I don't think you'll ever forget them. Pretty special. It was huge emotions from. We'd had a couple of horses that hadn't run quite as well as I hoped they would on the Tuesday, and I sort of went there thinking, I know Willoughby's our best chance, but how hard is it to win at this place, especially this week? And I think my confidence was not low, but at the same time I was being quite realistic about the task in front of Willoughby, and a lot of people were doubting the fact that he might not handle the quicker ground, and to be honest, it's just a day that once you're there, you have to do your best, and that's all you can do on that day. And the race had gone to plan. We knew, because we might, on this quicker ground, wouldn't want to be making up ground at the end. We were very keen to be handy away if possible, and they sort of let us have a lovely lead, and he jumped brilliantly. And coming down the hill, it was actually Jason Maguire had said to David, quicken it, but quicken him in your hands, and don't just drop the lot and ask for everything coming downhill. Try and get him to quicken in your hands, and that was just before we went out, and a very, very good piece of knowledge that's come from Jason, having ridden at the festival a lot of times. And it all went to plan, and I wasn't concerned about anyone really but Neon Wolf from that point, because he did look like he was going fabulously well. But I knew our lad would be very, very hard to pass. It's a real eye-opener to be speaking about Neon Wolf as such a fabulous horse that was going to be, Harry Fry's next superstar, and very, very sadly he's not with us. And that's I honestly, from a trainer's point of view, we want the best horses to be there and to compete against, and it's very, very sad for everyone concerned that he's not going to be with us. It must be a very tough time for everyone, because I don't know how I could even begin to think about losing something like Willoughby at this stage of his career. We've sort of experienced it with Barter's Hill, but he looks like he's on the road to recovery now, so he might be coming back, but to actually lose a horse outright is a desperate day. I've always seen him as a chaser. He's always been a brilliant jumper, and I think if we didn't go novice chasing, you'd have to say he's got the potential to become a world hurdle horse or something like that. But there's always, if we go chasing it doesn't work, we can always come back. Look, if you gave me the dream season from here till Cheltenham, I would like to see him I'd like to see him over 2.5 miles again, I think.
In the JLT?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's not the blue ribbon event that maybe the Arkle is or the RSA, but it's a grade 1. And my view is you keep a horse as short a trip as it's got to be competitive, but you don't need to be going the 3 mile plus before you actually have to. The RSA has been famous for being quite a tough race to undertake and then continue on in the same vein the season after. You know, he's definitely a horse with plenty of class, and I don't think he's an outright slogger. And I think the RSA is sometimes, not always, don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of classy animals win the RSA, but it is normally won by more of a stayer than maybe a 2.5 miler sort of type. And so don't rule it out. I'm not saying we're not going to go 3 miles this season, but I certainly think 2.5 is where I'd like to start. And if we went 3, it might be something like the Feltham around Christmas, because it's a 3 round Kempton isn't the same as 3-2 round Cheltenham.
You've obviously got Willoughby Court, the Cheltenham winner, Barters Hill on the comeback. Le Brule created a really, really striking impression when winning. That's him just there.
Yeah.
Even better. He created a really striking impression at Newbury.
Yeah.
In March, and it's a horse that you've always held in the highest regard.
Yeah, he is, as far as I'm concerned, fabulous. I think he's got everything. He's got speed, he's got stamina, he's an exceptional jumper. We didn't have the perfect season with him last year. He ran at Bangor in a bumper, and you know, I obviously didn't have him quite fit that day. He got beaten, changed plan from sort of champion bumper route to go hurdling, went to Sedgefield, and although we went to Sedgefield just to find a nice opening for him, it was actually quite a decent race, and the forms worked out well, and he won, I think, 12 lengths head in his chest as he liked, but jumped superbly. And then just when you think the ball's rolling, he picked up a tiny little knock in his fetlock joint where he had a tiny little bone fragment that had to be removed. That was 6 weeks off. Came back, wasn't going to be ready for the festival, so we thought we'd give him a prep run at Newbury for something later. And honest to God, he was only 85-90% fit that day, because for a small, sort of powerful horse, he takes a lot of getting fit. And through some quite hard work, you know, conditions that were quite hard work, he produced in spades that day and looked fabulous. He came out of Newbury on springs, and hindsight's a great thing, but should have gone to Cheltenham, because
it was only about 9 or 10 days, wasn't it?
Yeah,
between Cheltenham and Newbury.
I think it was 12.
Yeah,
was it?
okay.
Maybe, I think. But in all honesty, he was in great form while Cheltenham was going on. We weren't to know, but he went and got snotty for Aintree, and came back with a filthy track wash, and hence the reason he pulled up that day. That wasn't the running. That's not him that day at Aintree. We all know that. But we'll pick up where we left off and probably stay over hurdles for the season coming.
Is there one horse who you're really getting excited about this year?
There's various. We've got a lot of unproven 4-year-olds that might not have run yet.
Okay.
That I had near enough 24-year-olds last season that I didn't get a run into. So, and we always love our bumper horses, so there's some nice ones in there. And then you've got the likes of Highbridge. You know, Highbridge had a superb season, ran very creditably in the Supreme, finished 9th, wasn't himself. I asked Alex to give him some daylight, and my fault in the fact that we ended up 5 wide and probably going 2 wide, and he's got to be a horse with a big future, and he's a lovely great big strong individual who's again always been slow to mature, and he's come back in looking fabulous. You know, there's Great Wood Hurdles a potential for him. There's Jerry Fieldens if you want to go a bit lesser. But you know, he's a hugely talented horse, and he'll stay over hurdles this year, and I would like to think he'd be contesting a lot of the 2.5 mile decent handicap hurdles through the season.
Ben, a Hairbreadth is a horse that's always going to be extremely close to your heart. He was your first ever winner at Cheltenham, and you ran him in the Arkle last year. How is he now?
He's fine. It was a risk running him in the Arkle. It wasn't a risk that paid off particularly. He just wasn't. He wasn't really man enough for it on the day as it happened, and we ran him at Aintree, but sort of his season was gone, and it was. He quite clearly is a horse that excels in the early part of the season. He's had a little operation to remove a couple of kissing spines, which probably help him a lot, I think. He's back looking fab. He's off a very similar mark to the one he ran the Great Wood off last year. He was only beaten 2 lengths that day, and he had an awful time after the last with Modus coming right across him. And I honestly think that with very little miles on the clock like he has, there's every chance that we could be very competitive in the Great Wood. So that'll be his first target. And I'm now learning more and more about him. He's now a very easy horse to train from a soundness point of view. He seems a horse able to control himself and stay sound, but he's definitely better early half of the season, and so maybe we'll try and split the season into 2 and maybe have a couple of engagements early season and then sort of draw a line through Christmas and January.
Two Swallows is a horse who did extremely well for you last year, and any immediate plans?
She is an absolute joy. She's 15-1 if we're lucky. She's tiny. She's got a heart of a lion. Since she's been with us, she's won 3 and been second twice. She never doesn't give her all. She ran brilliantly under a great ride from Nico to win at the Cheltenham April meeting. She jumps like a bunny, and even though she's small, we're going to go novice chasing and have a look for a bit of mares, maybe black type, because she's from a nice pedigree as well.
So superstar horses to look forward to, but also a change in personnel or an addition in personnel, because you've enlisted the services of Daryl Jacob, who had his best year last year. He's going to be your stable jockey.
Yeah, no, he is, and it'll be great to have Daryl as part of the team. It's strange really, because in the 4 years we've been training, it's very much been sort of Nico and David have been with me from the start. They were, great mates of mine from Nicky's, in my days at Nicky's, and we know each other so well. But we've now have up to 70 horses or thereabouts, and neither Nico or David can commit. Owners need a bit of consistency, and I as a trainer need to know who I'm putting on these horses, because I'm somebody that does appreciate a jockey knowing the horse. He continues to have his retainer from the green colours, Simon and Isaac, and that has not changed. But they will only have, I think they've got about 20 or so horses in England at the moment, okay? And after that, Daryl hadn't got necessarily a main flagship yard that he was riding for. He was riding for a few other trainers, and they've been fabulous, I think, about the whole situation going forward. But we just felt we had something we could offer to Daryl that in those days when he was available, he would ride the majority of our horses, and I think it'll work, because I get on very, very well with Anthony Bromley, who sort of manages Simon and Isaac's interests in this country, and he wants to work. He always does work 3 weeks in advance for most of his horses. I think we've now got a lot of nice horses, a lot of horses with plenty of ability, and I'm looking forward to getting them in some better races. We've got some new ideas. In fact, we've just started our own racing club this year. It's set up with 2 horses. We're trying to get 40 people to come on board. This is a slightly different concept in the fact that most racing clubs only lease their horses, whereas I've actually gone out and bought 2 horses for the racing club, and they are therefore going to own it. So that's exciting and something we've not done, and so we're trying to offer it to the wider audience and get more people involved here, but we'll see if it works.